Hey everybody, I'm Jack with Future Pastimes. I'm a designer on Dune-themed games, and we're reading Dune. And we are at a pivotal chapter here where Paul and Lady Jessica have realized that the cave that they sought shelter in is filled with Fremen. It's very dark in the cave, and they hear voices at first, and then they start to realize that there are more and more Fremen in the cave with them. So they realize that Stilgar is one of the voices, and he is advocating for possibly taking Paul under their wing because he's young enough that he can be trained in the Fremen ways, and he is the person that Liet told them to look out for. But he doesn't really think that it's going to be good for the tribe to risk having Lady Jessica, who's probably too old to be trained in their ways. And meanwhile, the other voice that they're hearing, which is Jamis, who is advocating for just taking both of their water, which means killing them and then rendering the bodies down to water. But Stilgar is like, don't be so hasty. And Jessica realizes that they are almost certainly not going to let her live. So she realizes that after a moment of being able to listen to Stilgar and to get a measure of him, that she could probably use the voice on him, but realizes that if she goes down that path, it could create a lot of problems for her and for Paul later on. So she's really like, I don't want to necessarily do that. But then she realizes that she's just about out of options. So she sort of pretends to be crestfallen and kind of just does this little almost collapsing in on herself thing, but it's a fake out because she's doing some Bene Gesserit martial arts, and she gets Stilgar into a death grip, and Paul takes that opportunity to scramble away and seek shelter. He runs into Jamis and basically karate chops him, takes his Mala pistol and scrambles up the rock and hides in the shadows. And so Stilgar is like, okay, well, you have the upper hand here. And he realizes that she has advanced combat training, the sort of thing that the Fremen are looking to take their own combat to the next step, because they realize that they can't always go into places with their crysknives, but they still want to be a threat in just hand-to-hand combat, unarmed, which is exactly what Lady Jessica has done. And he describes her as a weirding woman, and weirding is described in the back of the book as that which partakes of the mystical or of witchcraft. So it's Bene Gesserit training, but they look at it as some sort of legendary fighting style that they have heard about or they wish were true, and it is true. So at that point, he's just trying to assure Lady Jessica that they no longer mean her harm, that she's really worth her weight in water if she can impart that knowledge upon the tribe, because that is what's best for the tribe. That is his responsibility as a leader, is always do what's best for the tribe. And that was why he was like, it's not personal. We just can't risk it. You could expose us if we try to bring you with us. It's just too big of a risk. And so Lady Jessica is like, I need some assurance that, you're not going to just kill me. And Stilgar has to explain that in the Fremen culture, their word is their bond. If he says, I'm going to do this, if I promise to not let anybody kill you, then that's as good as gold. And so she realizes that this is probably the best move that she can make. So she lets Stilgar go, and Stilgar calls up to Paul. It's like, why don't you come down? It's safe. But Paul doesn't move, and Jessica is like, he's not going to do anything you say. He's waiting for me to say it. And Stilgar recognizes the value in that as well, that Paul has had some training as well. So it's not just that he's young and can learn the Fremen ways, but he too has value already in his current state. So Lady Jessica says it's okay to come down. And that is when Paul meets Chani. She is up there in the shadows, and when he comes out, she sees him and lets him know, if you had tried anything, I would have, had to take care of you myself. But Paul is like, holy cow, this is the girl that I've had these visions about for so long, and here she is in the flesh. So he's kind of thrown for a loop, but she leads him down, and Stilgar takes his Maul pistol and says, you'll earn one eventually. And it was Jamis, and Jamis is like, well, he surprised me, that sort of thing. And Stilgar is like, at this point, you have to let it go, and because I need you and Chani to watch out for these new people, because we have to hit the road here. We have to get to the next siege, the next place of shelter, before the Harkonnen patrols or anyone else sees them. So they got to get a move on, and so that's kind of where it ends up. They're making their move, and they're heading across the desert with the Fremen. So they found the Fremen, and they have some sanctuary with the Fremen, although it was a tense there for a minute. Seemed like they first, Jamis was just like, kill them both. But Stilgar was like, I know who these people are. I recognize them. And Paul tried to play that up as well. He's like, look, Stilgar, we met. Remember when Duncan Idaho brought you before the Duke? And then, but Stilgar was like, and then Duncan Idaho ditched us. He was supposed to be one of us, but he ditched us for the Duke. And so that didn't really quite work out for Paul, but his mother took matters into her own hands, and for the benefit of the both of them. So it seems like they're in a safe place now, but it's Arrakis, so you're never going to be safe for very long. In terms of adaptations, the Lynch movie, I think, does a great job with this scene. It's really close to the book. Jessica makes a quick move. She gets Stilgar. Paul hightails it out of there. It's very close to how the book plays it. The miniseries also does a pretty decent job with it. It's pretty close with the Villeneuve adaptation. It's a little bit different. Because at this point, Jamis is immediately not ready to let it go and challenges Paul to a duel. He basically says, I got to fight and kill somebody. He wants to fight Lady Jessica, but Stilgar is like, that's just not how this is going to work. And Jamis is like, well, he needs a champion then. And Paul is like, well, then it's got to be me. I'll be the champion. And so we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. One of the things that Lady Jessica does do in this chapter is she realizes when at one point Stilgar, when he's making his case about the value of Paul, is that Paul could be the Lisan al-Gaib, which is the legendary voice of the outer worlds, the savior who will come and lead the Fremen to victory. And she realizes the mission area Protectiva has been to Arrakis. They've planted these legends hundreds of years in the past. And it's a way for Bene Gesserit, with the knowledge of this, to capitalize on it. So she lets them know that she is a Bene Gesserit. And that's part of the legend, is that the Lisan al-Gaib is the son of a Bene Gesserit. And so she thinks that will help elevate their status, to take advantage of these old legends. Although even that is a risky proposition. Anytime you're mixing with politics and religion, especially among a fanatical people, you could be asking for a lot of trouble. So she's already let that out of the bag, and that part of it doesn't come up in any of the adaptations. None of them really go into that part very much, and it is the legend thing. In terms of the weirding way, it's interesting how that is portrayed in the three adaptations. Famously, with the Lynch adaptation, was they just didn't have any special weirding way martial arts training or anything like that. It was a weirding module, and it was this voice mode of battle, turning sound into a weapon, which is interesting. It's an interesting take. I think a lot of Dune fans were like, boo, I don't like that. With the miniseries, they went with this sort of thing where if you had the training, you could basically, move faster, at superhuman speeds, with enough focus and concentration. And it's a decent way to do it. I think with the Villeneuve, they went with a much more practical, accessible effect. It was just, really, really good. Lady Jessica does a flip over Stilgar and disarms him, and then grabs him by the throat, and that's it. He knows that he's beaten. So it's a very different approach, and it seems like that's kind of where they're going to go with it. I think that really what they're going to do is just de-emphasize that whole aspect of the novel, this idea of the weirding way and this extra. No, it's not superhuman speed or perception or anything like that necessarily, but it is an acute form of martial arts that you're even more deadly hand-to-hand, unarmed. But it doesn't really come into play a lot in the book, as we'll see. So it's interesting. We'll get into it a little bit more in further chapters as they talk about that sort of thing. But I don't anticipate getting a lot more of that focus in the Part 2 movie, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes when we see it. So that's it for this chapter. Let me know your thoughts on it, and let me know if you have any questions. And thanks for reading along, and we'll see you again soon.